So actually, I do not yell at them like a drill sergeant, though. It's more for performance. It's much softer. No. Reflections on the fucking atlas bone, fucking with my goddamn brainstem. I'll do it quietly so you have range. I'm having difficulty modulating my voice. Since the accident, I've been going through it in a lot of ways. Here are a few of the things that I am working to learn at a very integral level. That it is not others' fault that they want to see me as they remember me. It is my responsibility to constantly share with them explicitly where I am. It is my responsibility to care for the first life I've been given and not what is easiest for others to accept. Whatever another's reason is for canceling on me is their reason. If I want to have that freedom and understanding in my life, I have to also give that freely to others. How can my relationships be full if I am too ashamed to give full disclosure? I have given too many relationships an equality that is not representative of the actual. I should listen and determine how much energy I can give based on who I am and what I want my life to be. The reactions to this injury should not be a punishment, but an indicator of true intentions. If I am overwhelmed sharply and immediately by the flood of stimuli in my world, perhaps there is a slower accumulation when I'm recovered that I should stop pretending does not exist. I want to be around those who will not treat the changes in my being as losses or lack. One day, my body will fail me, or my mind, or both, and I've got to stop acting like both are replaceable and require no maintenance. This is a way for me to begin paralleling the feeling of a stroke survivor who knows who they've been clearly, but is unable to be that for those around them. I must work exponentially hard at paying the price for all the judgments I laid down on others for what I formerly considered inadequacy. Training the self will require more than doing enough just to look like I am. The career others believe I have is nothing in the light of the life I've been given. Death could be after this show. Be patient with those who are not learning from your temporary loss, as there have been so many times you only said the words of learning. Don't wait until something like this happens again to begin writing yet another list of things you're going to do to show you weren't ignoring the truth. Allow yourself to be what you are, instead of longing for what you've had but can't return to. Okay.
This is called Seriously Want to Get Naked with All of You. In my fantasy, we fuck. And maybe one day, we will. But not tonight. I've paid the price to see what drives your sex. I've learned the hard lesson of what drives my own. There is a context in which it is perfect for our fucking, but that has not come to pass. Which is why the choice rejects the want for a want greater than what another choice wants to rationalize as what I want. Because I do want to fuck you. Seriously. I want to fuck you so bad. Really. I want to fuck you like I've been socialized to want it. I want to fuck you like I've been taught it will increase my status. I want to fuck you like my ego is running the show. I want to fuck you like cum kills insecurities. I want to fuck you like these are the last days of my procreation. I want to fuck you like apocalypse is a foregone conclusion. I want to fuck you like I can lie to myself about what connection is. I want to fuck you like comparisons will cease in the face of quantity. I want to fuck you like not fucking you means missing out on something I can't miss out on. I want to fuck you like it matters who I'm before or after. I want to fuck you like the animal brain is all I possess. Which is why I won't fuck you. Though the fantasy is as tangible as the stock market, as a speech becoming a person, as sorrow for the dead on a screen, I want you so bad it isn't even funny, and I should just get it over with, and give in, and give it up, and give you all, and give it a shot, and so on, and fucking so forth, and fucking. But I vowed to learn from previous one-night stands. I vowed to learn from fuck friends past. I vowed to learn from the places I've been to really be where I am now, choosing not to engage a gesture, creating an environment that never puts naked into the equation, becoming a person who doesn't want to do things just because I can, in exchange for what will guide me to where I want to go. This is not to close the door. This is to see that the door has yet to be opened. And I am not into picking locks when it comes to the depth I've made the deed. So maybe one day we will fuck, when it will heal us from another's abuse, when it will reflect equality in each focused caress, when it will create memory of more than executing system protocols, when it will increase our ability to understand, when it will ease enough to challenge more, when it will make us more human than gendered, when it will make us come so hard we reconfigure our molecules in a way that leads to an intangible sense of the infinite in our being. Did I really need to write previous poem? Why do I cock-block myself? It's really kind of stupid. Oh well. Better I cock-block myself than I Uber drama myself, or I AIDS 2.0 myself, or I impregnate out of irresponsibility myself, or I something shameful I can't tell others myself, or I rumor mill beyond my threshold myself, or I chase new ding-dong instead of build who I am myself, or I get guilty and force relationship on myself to justify myself. Plus, it really isn't cock-blocking. It's more like cock-empowering. I don't know how, but that makes sense. I believe it has something to do with the difference between satiation and fulfillment, escape and embrace, fear disguised as love, and love. So, you know, before this shit, which is hilarious to me, and that's sort of like the universe teaches you lessons till you listen, or gives you signs and they get louder till you listen. I was working like super fucking heavily on developing my body in like this really very combined way, working with an autistic man whose particular gift is being able to see all of your muscles and bones in action instead of being able to remember your face or your name. And what he does is
he identifies you based on the traumas that your muscles hold in your body, because every traumatic experience we have creates stress that holds in the muscles, and that accumulation can show him who you are. And that backstory is to tell you that in working with him, I've begun to work with stroke survivors, and this is a poem about one of them. It's called Right Hemisphere, Best Hemisphere. Sharon gives me a kiss on the lips every Monday, twice. This is unnerving for me, because I've never seen my parents hold hands, and the part about equating proximity with physical abuse. But I've got to roll with it, because if I don't, she will not progress as far as she can go. The thing about stroke survivors is that they can sense everything. Even if they can't articulate it in words or facial expressions, their level of comfort with you, their willingness to work with you, their ability to meet you where they need to go in order to teach their body again, is greatly influenced by where their stroke recovery practitioner is at. They can spot a fraud with all the credentials in the world, and they will go to the moon with an amateur who embraces them in that way you can't theorize. You've just got to do. Fear of fucking up her progress has caused me to arrive late more than once. Who wants to be the jerk who brings judgment into a room and makes walking more exhausting than it already is with someone who has no awareness of her own psoas? But sometimes our fear is not the truth of who we are inside, which is why the kiss means so much to me, which is why I get over myself every time that thick, gaudy lipstick comes my way, which is why I remember that the lips can transmit love in more ways than I was conditioned. With her traumatized left hemisphere, right fingers needing to do this in order to complete sentences, Sharon possesses a gift I've rarely seen in all these years and all the fucking places I've been. She heals me by being herself. It's selfish for sure, and I don't claim to be a fucking angel and light and dick face saving the world. I just show up on Mondays to walk with Sharon, to harmonize poorly with Sharon's right hemisphere so that we can work on bringing her fear-clutched hand back into play. Because I feel more human in that hour. There is something I've been hungry for that is better fulfilled in the studio with Sharon than on set with Annie. Don't get me wrong, Annie is great. Maybe one day I'll write a book of poems about her. But right now, I'm helping Sharon walk. And Sharon is helping me be and see. And if you need it written more cleverly than that, then you don't understand why I didn't. And that's okay. It's taken me this long to be in a room with a stroke survivor and feel, truly feel, all the prejudice of my past. And see, truly see, that I've been given an opportunity to not just craft a great narrative in order to seem, but this time, to be in the narrative that will prove to myself way more than it might to others. That these flaws I get hung up on in my left brain don't have to dictate how present I am working on driving the hip down with Sharon as we work to adduct from the knee. It helps that Sharon has more love in her than this room. I say this without exaggeration. Her love holds me in my failures. Because I am new to this work, I feel like I should give up and go back to entertaining every day. Because it pays more. Because people call me back more when I'm hot. Because I get treated better. But by whom? For what? And at what cost? And if circumstances hadn't placed us in each other's worlds, I may have rationalized for another 3 to 7 years before choosing anything near what I'm doing now. All for a kiss on the lips from a woman who wants to let me know before we begin and after we end that I am loved. So dudes, pretty awesome of you guys to be listening as deeply as you are, and surprisingly, because of the work I'm doing now, I can feel the varying degrees and stuff, which is kind of crazy to say out loud, but it's nothing magical. It's something actually that everybody could do. It's just that we're so bombarded constantly and so conditioned to only utilize certain aspects of who we are that we neglect that we have these abilities and therefore are unable to nurture or grow them because there is no one teaching us that in school. Instead, they're teaching us how to fill out Scantrons. So a product of that would be our limited perception. And also, clearly, we rely so heavily on our eyesight that the other five senses suffer. So that was all the poems that I brought for today, and that was the end of my set. But then Michael was telling me that I should go to 10:15, and I was like, well, fuck, man, it's not 10:15. So then I just off with my head just was like, well, I'll just start talking, because I guess that's what I should do. But, it's just really, I might as well just do it, because it's so intimate here. So kind to get that introduction and to have people all these years, even though I've been 7 years in the wilderness, mostly working on other things, to have people appreciate work I did over 10 years ago means a lot to me. And it means a lot that people are writing and performing, and it's not that I'm being hard on people for doing it. I just like to remind that there is a core place from which I want it to come from, because otherwise, as you develop bad habits, the longer you develop those habits, the more fixed you'll become in them. So I just want to get, I teach a lot of teenagers now, and I just want to get to them early, because in the end, we do live in a society and a culture where we are not encouraged to articulate who we are, which is why writing and performance is so important, because we have to begin articulating for ourselves so that our choices do not come as a reaction to what's being thrust upon us, but as from the source of who we want to be. Is that making sense? Yeah. Oh, cool. That's great. And what's funny is that that was my insecurity talking. And it's really good for me to say those things out loud, because I don't want you to think that that this white jacket means anything. I'm pretty much as insecure and flawed and obsessed with myself and my left brain and all of those things as I've ever been. I just, if there was anyone in this room that feels bad about wanting, just out of the blue, right? And maybe you have a friend and it's not you, that's fine. But, if someone here wants to be famous and stuff, that's cool. That's what I wanted when I was 19 and 20. And it's not really an age thing. It's just where I was. It's what fed me and drove me at that time. And I had to prove to my father that what I wanted to do meant more than him calling me a failure. So I was going to prove him wrong. And it took me years to realize that I did not want that to be the engine that drives my choices, the desire to prove my father wrong. So, the drop-off since Def Poetry came at the expense of the escalation of that career, but at the gift of finding a different engine to motivate my choices, so that I never had to hold on and keep feeding the flames of my hatred for my father in order to continue as a poet. Because I saw that road as leading to destruction, and I would never heal my relationship with him, and therefore lose a part of myself. Because if I can't find that place, as difficult and as challenging as it is, how great am I? Because I can use this fourth wall and pretend for days who I am, but this is actually only a very minuscule amount of time in my life. This 30 to 40 minutes is out of a 24-hour day where I have to face myself. And so I wanted to start doing something about that, because no matter how much I'm celebrated here, when I walk off, I have to go through not having this, you know? And even if I ended up being famous all the time, where I have handlers and publicists and an entourage and a schedule and my Escalade and all that stuff, this has a driver. It's not one that I own. It's rented, and my driver drives it, you know, because that's how. Because I'd be in the back seat making phone calls and, you know, doing interviews by phone and stuff. You know, even that is just a complete illusion. And now I'm really rambling. Yeah. So let's just acknowledge that right now. We were starting out strong, and then we went into a ramble. You know what? I would try this memorized poem. I want to try this. I'm just going to not move my body, okay? This is a poem I recite everywhere, and it's more of the style that people know me for. It's a poem written by my mother, and I'll close with this, and it begins with this note that she has me recite before the poem. Dear audience, my son agreed to perform this so that I, an immigrant, could have a voice. He does not understand this. He has never had to leave all that he knew and loved in order to survive. He is a tourist. He will not drink tap water. This is not for him. This is for the Philippines. For even though I have not seen much of the world, I believe that what I have to share is relevant to many people. Thank you for listening. Forgive the translation. Yours, Elizabeth Sia. Now the poem. Welcome to the third world, bitches! Too late to run now. You gave us visas to do what you thought was beneath you, importing us to build your cities, nanny your children, and nurse your fragile antibiotic lives. Your IKEA prices fucked our daily wage, and we are tired of sleeping where your waste is sent. So we coming over, and you can't do shit. Your children are too spoiled to stop the immigration problem. Or may I take your order sends dollars, pounds, euros, and yen back home. Gives our children education with computers, our uncles houses with doors, and our communities relief that beer cannot provide. The first world taught the third world how to use other countries in order to benefit the motherland. So now we gonna colonize you. From Brixton to the Bay, Sydney to Houston, Tokyo to Paris. We learns fast and we breeds faster. The generation cleaning your toilets will beget the generation doing your taxes, will beget your son-in-law. We've had to adapt without a balanced diet, and we are not forgetting the deaths that brought us here. So thank you for teaching us capitalism. Now let us teach you something that your salary could not. You live in a world. You've chosen to win at the expense of someone else's loss. You have consciously allowed, which is almost the same as doing. And your most favored nation status has only gained you boredom, terrorism, and high-speed internet access. We're going to serve the first world until you realize that we're not just here to serve you. We're going to colonize the first world until you can't ignore us just by going click. Until our children stop being born as the enemy. Until the first world stops seeing the third world as a different place. Thanks. Have a great night. Thank you for listening to me, and I really appreciate you guys evening. Take care.
Tomorrow for Beau Sia. If you've ever seen Beau Sia's work, you know how hard it was for him to stand still for 45 minutes and do his poetry, suffering from whiplash. Clap it up one more time.